In this video, I'm going to show you how I make my Awesome Blossom skins in a little more detail. To be honest, I was quite surprised in the previous video how interested you all were in how I actually made them and that it was kind of a unique idea. Well, when I debuted the Awesome Blossom technique here on my channel, a lot of the colors that went into that piece I had left over, and Leslie and I over at ColourArte went back and forth many times on different options for the color palette to make the Awesome Blossom. So I also had a bunch of paints that I already pre-mixed that never made the cut into making that Awesome Blossom. And if you have no clue what I'm talking about, up here, you can go watch it and catch up. A lot of you also commented in the comments, I mean, the response to that piece was overwhelming, about the making of the skins. A lot of you don't pour skins, I guess, on purpose. I know it's new for me too. Typically you would use the runoff paint, you know, you'd kind of flatten it out or do whatever you want to do with it. And then, you know, you got some skins left and maybe you make some jewelry or some magnets or whatever, tchotchkes. But I actually made Awesome Blossom skins. And that was actually serendipitous. I had created Miami Heat. And my husband looked at it and said, it looks like he's missing his brain because none of the flowers were packed enough in his head to make the blossom portion. So I didn't know what to do. I wanted to salvage the piece. So I hurriedly poured a bunch of skins on my table and then I just kind of stuck them on. That was how the blossom skins were birthed, at least for me. Other people may have done it on their channels. I have no clue. It's the first time I've seen anybody do it. I watched it myself. That even makes sense, probably not. So without further ado, let's get down to the business of pouring skins. My name is Tiffany Remijn and welcome to my channel. So when I go to make my skins, I actually pour them directly here on my silicone mat. I don't think you could actually pour this on any other surface. It doesn't have to be a fancy silicone mat. I'm sure you can buy one at your local baked goods store or Walmart if you're in the US, I'm assuming. I don't know, but it can handle heat. So the nice thing about the silicone mat is technically you should be able to torch air bubbles as you go ahead and make these. So I'm just gonna lay out my undercolor, because if you've watched the Awesome Blossom before, you know that I do a swipe over an undercolor, I blow out the petals, and then I pour colors in the center in a puddle form, and then I blow out the center of the flower, making what is now called the Awesome Blossom. Now, because I'm doing this on a flat surface, I'm going to come back on the end here. I want to make sure that there's no paint pooling because it's not a canvas. I can't tilt any excess paint off, and I don't want the paint to pool as I blow out the little petals. I want a nice, flat, even surface for it to dry and no pooling in my little petals. Hopefully that actually makes sense to anybody as you watch this. And then, of course, I use an aquarium tube to blow out my petals. Nothing spectacular there. I find that it gives me the ability to kind of maneuver around, different than a straw. A straw, obviously, you can't bend like this unless it's a flexi straw. I'm digressing. I'm getting off topic here. Some people might actually ask too, why am I going to all this length to put down my base color and then my swipe over color? Because really, it's a skin. I could cut it out to any shape that I wanted to. I actually find this easier. Not only does it match the original bloom that I would have blown out on my canvas, but once it dries, I actually have like a style line that I can follow to cut along to actually make the pretty little flower. And just a quick run through of the paint colors. So the first one that I put down was Prizm Pour Golden Poppy. The second color that I'm putting down now is Naples Yellow Deep. Yeah, I wanted like an opaque paint in there mixed in with all the Prizm Pour paints. This one is Shiny Taffeta. Yeah, I kind of second guess myself. I do that a lot, just so that you know. So yeah, this is again another Prizm Pour Shiny Taffeta. And then the last color that I'm going to put down here is Tuscan Sun. Isn't that beautiful? Look how lovely. Oh, I love that color. It does. It looks like Tuscan Sun. And then I'm going to put on dual cell activators. I'm going to put down the white cell activator, which is titanium white mixed with Australian Floetrol. And then I'm going to put a black down, which is the Oxide Black, again, mixed with Australian Floetrol, and blow that out. So for now, I'm going to turn up the music. I'm going to blow out these little flowers. And then I will come back to you when they're all dry and I start the cutting process, unless, of course, something else comes up and I feel the need to chat at you some more. Okay, yeah, that was quick. I'm back. Yeah, I feel the need to chat at you some more. So as I blew that out, you saw that the black cell activator kind of left that line, but continue to watch this because of the paint consistency that I'm using, and I will do a future tutorial on that as I'm still figuring this all out for myself as to how this works before I go and tell the world in case I'm wrong. It's slowly going to fill back in, and then it's going to make a beautiful little flower. So don't be alarmed if that happens to you, because for me anyway, it kind of fills itself back in. Yeah, and so eventually it's going to look like a little flower. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now and just keep going. Okay, they're dry. I typically try to wait if I can about 48 hours before I start to peel them off my silicone mat. I've tried a little sooner than that, and yeah, they're not dry. Even though the surface is almost dry to the touch, or it is dry to the touch, the underneath isn't always, especially because there's really no air getting underneath the silicone mat. I don't even know if that stuff's actually breathable. I haven't really looked that up on Wikipedia, something maybe I don't really care to know, but hey, you might want to. And also, I peel them up relatively slowly because I don't want to distort the blossom. Now, this is where trial and error is going to come in for you personally. You know, you don't want it too thick. You don't want it too thin. If it's too thin, you're going to distort the blossom, even though it might not tear when you peel it up off the silicone mat. And you don't want it too thick because the underneath side of this, I guess it's the way that I do it. The bottom side of this awesome blossom is going to be the pale color that I laid down first before the swipe. And if it's too thick, then you're going to see a ridge. So then when you lay it down on your canvas, you're going to see that yellow periphery around the outside of that flower. Now, I don't actually mind that look. I think it all depends on kind of what technique you're going for and what it is that you're trying to achieve. Yeah, I mean, maybe one day I would like them to be thicker to add a little bit more texture and dimension to the canvas. But where I'm at right now, that's kind of how it works for me. I will also lay them out on baking paper because, again, they're not 100% fully dry, I don't think, because even on a canvas, right, they say it might be dry to the touch after, 24, 48 hours, depending on where you live, but it's really not completely cured. I find that the baking paper actually kind of starts to absorb some of whatever moisture is left in them because they are relatively sticky and difficult to cut out. So you're going to really want to like hang on to them a little bit, like, and make sure that they're flat as you're cutting them out. Also, they have the tendency to fold in on themselves. And if they do that, it's kind of difficult to get them apart. Now, again, maybe if you laid them out on your silicone mat and let them dry for weeks on end, maybe, yeah, then you won't have that problem. But if you're going to do like I do after about 48 hours and try to peel them up and use them, then yeah, they're going to be relatively sticky. And so, yeah, now I'm going to actually cut them out. So you'll see, right, when I mentioned earlier why I do the swipe over color in a different color and why I bother to do that on my mat, because now I've got a nice little line to cut out my blossom. It's very clearly defined, the line that I can follow when I'm trying to cut these out. So we've all been to kindergarten, I'm assuming, because the average age on my channel is not under the age of 6. So I'm not going to bore you to death while I actually cut this out with my little scissors. But what I will share is the fact that I not only made the yellow skins, I made purple and I made magenta. So I have a future video that's coming up. We actually in the next video on my channel where I'm going to incorporate all these skins into a retro. I'll just leave it at that without a spoiler alert. So you'll have to stay tuned. So please like, subscribe, turn your notifications so that you know when that piece of a retro, whatever I'm doing, airs on my channel. So ciao for now. See you in the next one. If you want to watch the original Awesome Blossom, I'll link that right here for you. Anyway, see you in the next video.